Yeah. Yes, this is the SFS for podcast part of the show. Oh, it's been a very sunny day today. The weather is getting fantastical again. It's very rare for this country to have good weather. Yeah, I'm on a diet at the moment. I'm just eating avocado, pine nuts, mackerel, and blueberries. And going swimming, going to the gym, and writing Mr. B book. This actually, my recording this is kind of put me back on the Mr. B book because I'm written over 2,000 pages, and I'm on the final chapter, which is chapter 12, which Dracula goes to space. Oh, it's going to be the biggest motherfucking book of all time. I fucking guarantee it. Yes. You know, life sometimes can be very difficult, but it can be very calm as well, depending on what you do. You see, if you just keep yourself to yourself, like I do these days, and don't hang around with the wrong type of people, which I used to, then, it doesn't really matter where you live.
4, 7, 4, 7, 6, 9, 6, podcast. 0, 7, 8, 9, 5.
Sorry about that. So, I just received a call from somebody. I'm very, very sorry, but I had to not answer the phone and be an arrogant bastard and not answer him. Whoever called, I'm not going to say the name because I don't name names, but someone called. You see, if you're involved in it, then that's the point, innit? If you're involved in the shit, then you will be in the shit. If you know what I mean. You see, point is, I've got no paperwork on me. A lot of people out there have got paperwork on them. That means they're certified. And they're certified meaning a rat. The certified rats. That's all I'm going to say. Is once you can't just say anyone's a rat until you've seen that paperwork. Once the paperwork has been seen, then it's certified. Yeah, so it's been very, I just take my mushrooms and smoke my weed on the weekends and, oh, someone's calling again. I know who it is, but I can't answer because I'm doing a fucking podcast, you motherfucker, whoever's phoning me. Why did it have to wait until I'm doing something, trying to do something professional to phone me? I do not get it. But I talked over it at that time. On this SFS portion of the podcast, I'm going to go over now. You think I'm a white boy and I'm from England and I was born in the early 90s. How can I talk about something like this? What business do I have? I don't really have much business, and I don't have any real opinion because I never met the guy or the guys in real life ever. I only heard about them. But as a fan goes, and if you want to call me a mark for anything, then I am a fucking mark for Tupac Shakur. To be honest, man, if anyone, I was obsessed with Tupac. I'm not so obsessed now as I used to be because I looked at the way I was, with my obsessions. When you get obsessed and you got no room to be, have any other, interests. And I used to spend hours and hours just listening to Tupac, watching his documentaries, speculating on what happened to him. I don't know why he just has that impact on me. I don't know why, but from a very young age he had that impact. I first heard him Because I always thought that he got killed out at the fight that I watched on telly one night when I was up very late one night. One of the first memories I remember, I was up late one night and I was watching Frank Bruno versus Mike Tyson. And I was hearing all this shit about Mike Tyson being this evil motherfucker. Now I see Mike Tyson for who he really is. He was a troubled guy from Brownsville who, just shit followed him everywhere, similar to Tupac, So, Mike Tyson's a very intelligent person, in my opinion. He's very spiritually. What I've seen of him on his interviews, very spiritually together. And back then, I don't know why he puts himself down so much, man. He was the best fucking boxer in the world. But I know why Tyson does. Because if I was Mike Tyson, it's like people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you remember what you did 10 years ago?" And all that. Yeah, that was fucking mint. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what happened 10 years ago. I don't care. All I'm going to say is, and I think Tyson gets sick of that. Gets sick and tired of people saying, "Yeah, you were the shit." Because that I don't think that was a very good time in Tyson's life. So he wants to forget it, and I would be like that. So if I ever talk to Tyson, I won't talk about his past. I'll be so like, "Yeah, you were the best boxer ever." I know he was, but But what I'm saying is, Tyson had the fight with Bruno, and that night, I fought Tupac. That was the night that I thought Tupac got killed by, Keefy D and Orlando Anderson, because they're the people who shot him, okay? Now, I've had arguments about this years ago with people, to the point where I wanted to go to America and fucking look for certain people and chop the fucking heads off. Because there's one theory, man, that just bugged the shit out of me. Like, for years and years, I bought into the Suge Knight theory. Like a fucking mark. I didn't fully believe it though. I always thought it was Orlando. It's just obvious. And as soon as I started doing research into the Bloods and the Crips and how they operate in South Central LA and reading Monster Cody's book, really good book if you're into any of the gangs, Crips and Bloods and shit like that, the inner workings of the Crips. I mean, that Monster Cody book's a fucking smash. And he's changed his name, Monster Cody, to Shakur. And he actually had a relationship with Tupac, actually, did Monster Cody. There's actually on YouTube, there's a phone call with a conversation where I think it's soon after Tupac gets out of jail. And he's talking about who shot him and all that. It weren't supposed to be heard by the general public, but he's saying something about these people from Queens or something did it. King Tut or someone. Obviously, King Tut didn't do it because he's done an interview recently, and that was his first shooting. Anyway, what I'm saying is, you know how the Crips operate, and I always agree. I always believed it was Orlando Anderson deep down. Though I did have doubts that it was Suge Knight, and Orlando Anderson was planted there by Suge Knight. But nah, man, I've listened to Suge Knight, loads of interviews recently he's been doing. He's the hottest thing on YouTube right now. I think Suge Knight, is the most entertaining thing because most people on YouTube are just fucking unentertaining, poisonous, toxic motherfuckers. I'm not going to name any names. I don't know any names because I don't watch them anymore, If someone I don't like, I just don't watch. But you know what I mean? Today is just something fucking cringe about today's entertainment. And this is why it's just like, especially rap, it's just fucking dead, in my opinion. That's why it's called trap music. I'm not disrespecting any rapper. Maybe it's because it's the executive producer or something, but that style of that drill style and trap is just for me personally, is the worst type of music I can possibly hear. It just it makes me feel cringe. It makes me want to jump off a fucking building. Seriously. Right? But yeah, I had bare fucking arguments about this years ago because I then found out, because I watched documentary about the Bloods and the Crips, and then obviously all Greg Caden shit, which I'm not going off all Greg Caden shit. So many fucking people said this, man. Everyone who knew Tupac basically said it was Orlando that did it. It was Orlando that was in the backseat of the car with Big Dre. Keefe D was in the passenger side, and Terrence Brown or someone, was driving. Keefe D, I think what really fucking happened, right? From every interview that you listen to, any Tupac fan out there, I think the confession that Keefe D made when he thought that there was no tape recorder in the room. I don't know why you would think that. If you're a gangster, even I know that. Anytime I'm getting interviewed by any fucking cop, I know that they're recording you. It's just fucking obvious. That's what they're doing. Especially fucking these days, but even anywhere. You always record, you always watch what you fucking say. Because they record you, man. And if they suspect you're doing anything, they'll bug your fucking house if you're a real fucking criminal. So I don't know what type of gangster Keefe D is. I'm not saying he ain't a gangster because I don't want to get killed or anything. You know, him to send somebody to kill me. But I'm like, I don't hate Keefe D either. Because I don't, at the end of the day, I never knew Tupac. And I might have not liked Tupac, if I met him. I don't know. You know, from what I've seen, the Tupac, his interviews, his music, his movies, everything, I'm a fucking major fan. And his personality is just very authentic. He's one of the most authentic entertainers I've ever come across. I mean, him and Bruce Lee, to me, are the fucking Beirut of entertainment, shall I say, I mean, well, let's get honest, man. What fucking music star, entertainment star, is still getting talked about today as much as Tupac? There's not many. Not even Michael Jackson gets talked about as much, and he died like fucking 20 years after Tupac. You know? Same with Whitney Houston and all that. Maybe Bob Marley does. I suppose Bob Marley does, but God, Pac is a fucking cultural icon. That's just any hater. Fucking, it's just they've got to know that's where he is, and people get mad, obviously, because people that never knew him, including me, talk shit about Tupac, and from people that knew him as well, like obviously Snoop Doggy Dogg lies. We all know that. Anyone who's listened to each and every interview knows that Snoop kind of lies on Tupac. Then you get the fucking Hughes brothers, them stupid mother fucking Canuckers, who Tupac hated until his death doing that fucking Dear Mama documentary. It was a great fucking documentary, but, it was fucking choreographed off fuck. You had all these big stars who barely knew Tupac. I mean, Tyson knew Tupac a bit, but Tyson had his own shit going on a lot of the time. I mean, Snoop knew Tupac, but I don't think they were friends like that. From what I hear, Snoop and Pac weren't, especially the last couple of days of Pac's life, they fell out. And there's two stories to that. There's one where Snoop says he got on the aeroplane and was holding a knife and fork. He was with all the mob, the mob Pyrus and Tupac. Which I don't really, if I'm thinking about that, I don't really believe that. I mean, Snoop, from what I've heard from various people, interviews on Death Row Records, Snoop was not about that. He weren't that type of guy like Tupac was. He weren't go, 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 as Tupac was. He was go, go, go. Anyone who disrespected Tupac at that time of his life were going to get dealt with. And usually Tupac would get the outlaws to do it. Like Napoleon and, Gaddafi and Fatal and all them. They're on. Especially Napoleon. He was fucking crazy back then. And I watched an interview recently with Vlad and Napoleon, man. And I was like, fucking hell, if this is the old Napoleon, because I've seen the footage of Napoleon back in the day, he was fucking off his head. You say anything to him, and Napoleon will admit this. He fucking, get rat packed, which means fucking bunch of guys, 10, 20 guys, fucking stomping you out. And Death Row did a lot of that shit, But yeah, Tupac was go, 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 you know, and that's kind of, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say it, it might come across as me being being kind of like not with Tupac, you know, not a hardcore fan that I am, because I know I am. But I'm just saying, to be truthful, it's his kind of, it's not the main reason, right? But it's one of the reasons, because he just kept it too real all the time. He couldn't turn it off, I don't think. Or I think he didn't give a fuck at the end of his life. I think because he always rapped about his death, man. He always, if you listen to his last albums, especially on Death Row, because he's only on Death Row for 11 months, right? I know all shit about this, the timeline, everything. October 10th he got out. September 13th died. September 7th he got shot. You know, he was a week in hospital. But yeah, and the amount of fucking work he did that year, no one's ever done in the entertainment industry. Period. He made at least 700 songs. He knocked out 5 a day. And he came out with a lot of fucking fury. He was go. You know, he weren't the same Tupac before Death Row Records. I've studied the life. Maybe I'm wrong because I never met him. But it seems like the more negative Tupac came out in Death Row. But I think at that point in his career, he was the most creative. He was definitely on top of his professional game, acting and music. He was levels. He even elevated himself levels, in my opinion, from before. And that's because he had so much fury inside him because of all the shit that happened. Him getting shot 5 times in New York and, you know, they're getting falsely accused of rape. And just so many other shit when he was in jail, people saying he got raped. Just like people that he looked out for, like Biggie and Stretch and all them, just like dissing him. You know, people from New York dissing him, like, you know, and saying Fog Life and all that. I mean, Tupac really hurt him. So there's like people out there that say Tupac did all these diss records because he was doing it for money. I don't agree with that. I think he was really pissed. I think he was really hurt. I don't think he ever believed that Biggie shot him. No, I believe that if I study this closely, I believe Tupac was mad at Biggie because of what happened after he got shot. Biggie never acknowledged Tupac ever because Tupac, to my knowledge, I weren't there, but to my knowledge was the biggest fucking help in Biggie's career coming up. I mean, no, I'm not going to go as far as saying Biggie stole Tupac's style, no. There's one song, right, where he did, where I can say certifiably Biggie stole Tupac's style, and that was one song on Ready to Die album called Everyday Struggle. That is a Tupac, come on man, that is a fucking Tupac song right there. That song. Any other song, I don't know, no. I mean, Biggie's got his own flow, his own style. No. But Tupac schooled him. I think Tupac was a bigger influence on Biggie than that fucking the Diddler was. Yeah, and we'll be getting into the Diddler and all his shiesty shit. And I do believe I'm about 60%, well, I believe nearly 100% that he mentioned it to Keefy D. That he wanted to kill Suge and Pac. Now, this is where I'm going to get into the timeline. I'll take you to, on this story right now, to March 1996. You know, Tupac's kind of fresh out of jail, been like 6 months out of jail. He's created the fastest recorded album of all time, the first hip-hop double album of all time, sold 6 million in a very short period of time. He's at the motherfucking top. You know, Biggie in 95, it was all Biggie. If you remember when on listening to the radio, if you were into rap music at the time, when Pac was locked up, Biggie was fucking big. I mean, bigger than Snoop and Dre was, you know, a couple of years earlier, in my opinion. Because Biggie just made them radio hits, which Tupac schooled him to, because Tupac said to Biggie, and there's so many. Biggie even said this, so I'm just saying what Biggie said. Tupac said it as well, that you have to do songs for the ladies, because Biggie was just on that hardcore Brooklyn shit, when he was doing Ready to Die, but Tupac kind of, been in the hip hop game for a little bit, was like, nah man, you need to do at least 2 or 3 songs that are going to hit the radio, unless your album ain't going to sell. You can't just do it for this small, indie ghetto crowd that just likes the hardcore shit. Because Tupac did I Get Around and Keep Your Head Up, as well as his other hardcore shit. So I think that schooled Biggie to make records like Juicy and Big Papa, and One More Chance, and they're all over the fucking radio in '95, all over. And Pat came out and he was like, nah, I'm putting the West Coast back, because Snoop at the time was fighting a murder case, and Dre himself was in jail, and Dre obviously was on the outs with Death Row. In my opinion, it's because of a woman called Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. There's a lot of stories. I don't know what happened, but there's a lot of stories about Dre beating her up and all that shit. And then Suge Knight, according to Suge Knight, he protected Michelle from Dr. Dre. I don't know whether it's true. I take whatever Suge Knight says with a grain of salt. I believe in his podcast that he's done with Art of Dialogue and, his Collect Call with Suge, about 75% of what he's saying is probably true, but it's that 25% that really matters that isn't. And the bit that isn't true, is evidently not true, is that Snoop Dogg had something to do with Tupac's murder. That is not true at all. And the fact that Snoop Dogg didn't visit Tupac in Las Vegas, when loads of people have said Snoop, that were close to Tupac, said Snoop visited Tupac but the day Tupac died. And I'm going to tell you people who said that. His main bodyguard, Frank Alexander, said that. One of his close girlfriends, Desiree Smith, very close to Tupac. Afeni said it. Kadada has said it. And the Outlaws said it. So, I don't know, Suge Knight, has got something very, very deep feelings towards Snoop. And I understand, because Snoop Dogg has kind of tried to reinvent Death Row, but no. You cannot reinvent something as good as Death Row Records. And that fucking Michael Harris guy, I think, is a fraud. I believe Suge on that. And I believe that, Death Row is Suge Knight's fucking company. Suge made that motherfucker. And Suge is a funny guy, man. And I understand why Tupac took to him. Because I always seen Suge, when I was a kid. And I would hear stories about Suge Knight. I always saw him as this evil monster. But now, with everything that's happened with the Diddler, I'm like, Suge Knight's a fucking Boy Scout compared to fucking the Diddler. I mean, he strong-armed his way through fucking the music industry. But you gotta understand, the music business was a fucking, especially if you're from the ghetto, and you're of colour, and you're from the ghetto, it's even harder. You got these white Illuminati executives trying to fuck you over. And it's everywhere. It's not just, people say that Suge Knight did them out of money. Every music fucking label has done it. You just listen to Left Eye, from TLC. She tells you how the music business works. She points it out perfectly. What percentages people get and all that. So that's the music business. People get if you're not owning the record label and you're just the artist, you're going to get about 10. I think Left Eye said like at most 10% because of everything else you got to pay for. So that's just the music business. I mean, Snoop was owed money, MC Hammer was owed money, the Dog Pound was owed money, Dre left with no money. Well, Suge Knight said Dre owes him money. I think everyone fucking owes Suge Knight money. So he's got a lot of people to collect from when he gets out. The only thing though about Suge Knight is he should not be saying, because if he's eligible for parole, he should not be saying, I'm going to see Dr. Dre when I get out, or I'm going to have a word with, I'm going to go and visit, Snoop or this Ray J. If I was Suge Knight, I'd kind of, keep that shit to myself, because the fucking police are going to be watching. Like Suge Knight said, now police are locking up more people from what incriminating shit they're saying on YouTube and shit than, by the way you used to, through snitches or just catching you in the act. So, I mean, some of the things that Suge said, I'm like, Suge, man, you should think a little bit before saying that, unless you want to spend the rest of your life in jail. Which I don't want. I want Suge to be free. I think Suge Knight should be free, because I don't know anything about it. I don't know the family, so I don't come in disrespect. But I believe that day that he killed that, that hit and run was an accident. And there's an interview with a guy who was there, right? The guy who was there, right? He's a known guy. He's actually an actor. He actually stars in Training Day. Do you know when Denzel goes to the hood and fucked his Eva, the actor Eva Torres, that scene, and there's all them gang members outside. There's that bald-headed one next to Terry Crews, outside the building. He's the one who's called Bone, and he's the one who's on the phone talking mad shit and saying that. I think he said I'm not too clear on this, but Suge Knight said, and I think I've heard it from lots of others, that he had a gun. Whether that's true or not, I think Suge Knight thought he had a gun. Whether he had a radio or a gun, maybe he had a radio, but it looked like a gun. I think Suge Knight panicked and wanted to get the fuck out of there. And that guy who killed that Terry Carter, Suge Knight was actually close friends with him, I heard. But yeah, the family, I can understand the family being very, broken down by it and wanting Suge to suffer. I would if I was their family, Someone's got to be blamed, I suppose, on it. So, but I'm just saying, I think Suge Knight is kind of telling the truth. It's like, no, they're not locking up Snoop Dogg or fucking Dr. Dre, and you don't know what shit they've been doing. Especially Dre, man. Dre's got a checkered history. I'm not judging Dre because, to me, Dr. Dre is the best producer ever in rap music, and brought out the best artist ever. NWA, Snoop, Eminem, 50, Kendrick. Even though I never listened to Kendrick, but I've heard he's good. But you know what I mean. So I don't know. I'm not saying what he's saying is true about Dre being gay, but there's so many stories about him beating up women, and obviously I don't really like that. I'm not a fucking angel, but I've never beaten up a woman. I don't think I would, unless I was on some sort of fucked up drug and was, hangover and woke up with a fucking woman trying to rape me or fucking kill me or something. Then maybe I'd have to put my hands on them. You know what I mean? But yeah, but but Suge and Tupac, if you want anyone talking about Tupac today, it's either Napoleon, Mo Prime, or Suge Knight, because they're the ones that were with him in that period. Anyway, we'll go to the very pivotal thing that made Puffy put out the £1,000,000 to Keefy D at Greenblatt's Deli in Los Angeles for the murder of Suge and Tupac. First, it was Suge. And I think the first time Puffy mentioned this was in Anaheim in late 95, just after, because Death Row had a Christmas party. And shit was very tense at that time between Bad Boy and Death Row, to my knowledge. One of Suge Knight's closest friend, Jake, got killed outside a club in Atlanta. And from what I've heard, Suge Knight had Puffy in a full Nelson while it was happening. And Suge blamed Puffy for it and then put him in a full Nelson and was going to kill him that night. Because earlier that night, Suge was slapping him around and shit. because there was some shit about on the Source Awards, that infamous thing that Shug said kind of started a bit of a tension between Puffy and Shug, and then the whole Tupac and Puffy bad boy thing as well, and Shug getting Tupac out of jail. You know, yeah. I mean, shit got serious, I think, after Shug's one of Shug's best friends got killed, and he thought Puffy was behind it. Then Tupac just joined the fucking bandwagon, fucked Biggie's wife, which he did. I'm kind of certain, I wasn't there, but from all that I've heard and just the photographs and the timeline and all that, and listening to Faith, who's clearly full of shit, Tupac definitely got the pussy. Nan, if I were Tupac, I would have gone for Little Kim, because I don't like blondes very much. I don't like blonde women as people. I'm just not attracted to blonde women for some reason. And Faith happened to be blonde at that time. So, yeah, Tupac, obviously, you know, I'm not being a Tupac dick rider, or maybe I don't give a fuck, right? But at the end of the day, Tupac could have had any woman he wanted. I mean, even I can say it as a heterosexual man, that if I was a woman, Tupac would probably be like, Jennifer Lopez is to a woman. You know, women love Tupac. That's just a fact. He had every fucking woman. For fuck's sake, he had Madonna at one point. And Sally Richardson. And then Quincy Jones's daughter. And so many others. You know? You know, it's just, yeah, of course it happened. And they met like 3 times. They did a song together called I Wonder Why They Call You Bitch. And there's actually a recording of that when he gets out of jail. Soon after he got out of jail, the first thing he did was make all them songs and then make sure he fucked Faith. But Tupac didn't admit it straight away. I think he waited till his album came out because he wanted power. This whole Machiavelli thing is like, Tupac was on a mission when he got out of jail. And he was like, I'm going to make this album, I'm going to fuck Faith, but I'm going to be very quiet about it. Because I want this album, I want this California Love song to get where it's going, and I want All Eyes on Me to get there, and then I've got money for war. Because what Jimmy Henchman, you know, the guy who's, you know, involved, probably definitely involved with his first shooting, laid a message to Tupac saying, I won't go to war with a gangster like me, let a motherfucking New York gangster like me unless you got money for war, which is true. If you're going up against gangsters in New York or anywhere, man, you need money. Unless you're fucking suicidal. You know, so, you know, Tupac got out, he kind of bided his time because he didn't diss Biggie straight away. And even on All Eyes on Me, there's no mention of Biggie. There's subliminal disses on All Eyes on Me, but there's no direct disses. They came later. Soon as All Eyes on Me came out, that's when, soon as that happened, soon as he sold like 5 million, that's when Tupac started going on at Biggie. And started exposing everything about him and destroying him. And that's what he did. I mean, I'm not taking Tupac's side like that because Biggie is one of the best rappers ever and I'm a huge Biggie fan. You know, Biggie, as flow goes, and, you know, his lyrical, mathematical timing and flow and the way he can just rip a fucking beat to pieces, man, there's no one better. But Tupac was just, you could feel Tupac, you know, and people say he can't rap, you know, it's bullshit. Just read his poetry. The guy was a good rapper. No, he didn't flow the best, no. But he could flow. You know, come on, man. Fucking Life Goes On, All Eyes on Me, all them fucking songs, troublesome. Come on, man. You're not saying that they don't have flow in them. Then you're smoking crack, in my opinion. Or you're not a rap fan. You know, I just can't stand people that talk bad about Tupac that are not alive. I mean, I really shouldn't be talking about him because I weren't there. I just believe that I'm a really huge fan of Tupac's. I have been since I was 10 years old, for over 20 years. I've been a fucking diehard Tupac fan nearly as long as Tupac was alive. Because remember, he only just turned 25 when he died. And that's why I can say, when I was 25, which was 5-6 years ago, I was hot-headed. If someone, I was like, how you are at 25? I don't know if everyone's like that. I mean, some people are mature by then, but especially if you're going through hard shit, and you're kind of new to the world still. That age 18 to 25, that stage where life just fucking hits you very hard. You're on your own. You got to deal with the fucking unfair, injustice world that we live in. You don't get taught about that shit in school. No one teaches you how to deal with life in school, or how crooked the banks are, how there's so many rich people out there, and there's so many, and then there's poor people, because just how cruel the world is. Anyone who's been out there on on their own, like me and anyone else, don't matter what race you are, knows that the world is a very fucking cruel place.
7, 4, 7, 6, 9.
Here I go.
6,
More.
0, 7, 8, 9.
I might
Calling.
be like a dickhead at the moment, but I am not answering the phone to nobody, Hershey. And Hershey's looking at me like, why aren't you answering that? Someone must be coming round. Her ears are going up and her head's turning back and forth. No. She's nibbling on her little grizzly bear, ain't you, Hershey? You are a little grizzly bear, ain't you, my sweet? My grizzly little bear. Yeah. You know what I mean, though. If you're out on your own, you just think that the world evolves around you. You know what I mean? You don't know anything about how your ego works or how your mind works, and, how bullshit your conceptions of yourself are, But Tupac, by the age of 25, compared to me, even now, was a lot more mature than I am. He sold that's a young age, and the work that he did at that young age, man, people don't do in fucking 10 lifetimes. So, but people, who disrespect Tupac, who never knew him, like, just for views or whatever, it's just fucking bullshit. And if I was anyone out there, just do not listen to these people. Don't give them the time of day, because that's what they want. They want attention. I think people know what certain people. I'm not going to mention names because it's nothing to do with me. I'm just talking about what I've known, and I've been a huge fucking Tupac fan, probably one of the hugest Tupac fans. I can say that because I have. To be honest, I am a fucking huge Tupac fan. I know everything about him, but I don't, if you understand, because I've never met him. But through, say, the grapevine, I know everything about him. But I don't, because I've never met him. So there could be stuff that I do not know. And yet, like I said, I might not have liked him if I met him. This is what I'm saying, so I'm speaking as a fan here. So, we get to the Soul Train Awards. Puffy, basically, first tells Keefe D months prior, December 1995, after the guy Mark Bell gets beaten up and Suge Knight allegedly pisses in some champagne glasses, stabs him up with champagne glasses and fucking drinks champagne. The police report, it said that Tupac and Dr. Dre was there, and the rest of Suge guys, the Mob Pirates, the Bunches, the Herons, the Neckbones, the Lip Dogs, the fucking Mob James, Reggie Wright, and all them motherfuckers, all there, beating the shit out of them. I don't know if it was them particular guys, but there might have been other bloods. I don't know which bloods were there. But Tupac and Dre was there. So Dre was still with the label at that time. But what I've heard is Tupac only saw Dre twice in the studio. He recorded You Can't See Me, which actually Daz produced that, what I've heard. That was a Daz song. and California Love, which was meant to be a straight up Dr. Dre song for his second album, The Chronic 2. That was supposed to be Dre's comeback album. It didn't happen until late 99 with 2001. But yeah, but when Tupac came out, all the focus was on Tupac. I think they not scrapped Dre's album, but like had to wait because Tupac was so quick at recording his breakout album. And as soon as Tupac got on Death Row, Suge Knight was like, I don't give a fuck about any of the artists. Like, you know, he had fucking Danny Boy, who's like the modern day Michael Jackson, in my opinion, at that time. He had I think he had Casey and JoJo, did he? Jodeci and all them. Yeah, MC Hammer just joined the label. You know, he had the Dog Pound. They had that group from Watts. You know, probably the Blood group, what they called. The Flipster. Flipside! Yeah, OFTB. Yeah, them. Yeah, they were about it. You can tell. That Flipside guy. I don't think he's alive anymore. I think he's dead. That Flipside. But yeah, they were a group signed, and the Dog Pound, and Miss LA, and, you know, Jewel, and all them. But no, all the focus was on Tupac. It was like, fuck all this. Tupac. And, you know, he was on a different level than Snoop and Dre, in my opinion. I think he took Death Row. Death Row was as big as it fucking was, which was fucking huge. When Tupac came, he elevated that shit to the highest level. Higher than anyone ever imagined a record label would go, in my opinion. And just the work that he did, you know, and Suge just became close friends with Tupac. He weren't close friends with Dre or Snoop. I mean, I think Suge had a business relationship with them. You know? But Tupac was actually a very close friend of Suge Knight.